Good morning. I feel pretty alive this morning, which is a good thing, right? Yeah, I feel pretty good. And the heat in here is tolerable. Anyway, we've been talking about words, origins of words. We've been talking about expressing how words are intended at their best to evoke thought, to begin communications, to evoke, to plug into the dream that we all share. If you start paying attention to your dreams, which is something that I've always done, I certainly pay more attention to my dreams many times than what's apparently occurring currently in my life. They're all tempered by the dreams. And I believe there's a universal dream. It's a longing or a calling that evokes a longing, evokes a desire to wake up from the dream that we're trapped into so that we can be released into the dream that we share. The dream of becoming yet again, or once again, that which we've always been. And lots of time and effort on my part has been consumed in this examination, this inquiry of origins of words and how I can use them best. And I want to take a look at clarity. I will be going deeper into silence the next few talks, the next few sharings. Sharing is probably the best word. I've been searching from the very beginning of these efforts to label them, to put a word to them, and sharing is the word that seems to be most satisfactory. And speaking of clarity, I wanted to talk about quantifying clarity. Counting it, measuring it. Does clarity lend itself to measurement? And in some ways it does. And in some ways, it doesn't. When we don't have enough of it, we long for more, don't we? To be more clear, to spend more time in a state of clarity. And this is a longing that, like most others, I've come to grow out of. This driving, compelling search for clarity has, like everything else about me in my life, surrendered to gentleness. Gentle has become the primary adjective to express what I'm becoming. It's the process of this becoming. Everything for me is about gentleness. Every consideration, every thought, every action is now couched in gentleness. Indeed, couched in was not a slip of the tongue. It's my coach. Gentleness. It's my guide. So with gentleness comes many things. Gentleness obviously leads to peace. If you can treat yourself with gentleness, if you can treat those around you with gentleness, if you can reach out with gentleness to those that are not geographically close to you, if you can send your gentleness out into the world, you'll find that gentleness becomes your song. And your song will be ever so compatible with the song of the universe. The only difference being in intensity. After all, there's no hope in competing with the infinite in any way. You want to participate. You want to add your small voice in harmony with the song of the universe. This is what gentleness means to me. So, talking about qualifying, expressing the state of sharing, creating the state of clarity is best served gently. As I approach anything, it is gentleness that leads the way. Gentleness is not always the most direct or the fastest way to get somewhere. But that's a lot of its appeal and beauty, is that gentleness is inclusive of enjoying the process. So how does this apply to clarity? How do I gently accept? How do I measure clarity? Well, in the very early parts of this journey towards clarity was compelling need, I should say, to dwell within clarity as I understood it at the time. I wanted it to be a permanent state of mind. And that's how I measured clarity. Clarity was going to be all inclusive. There was no room, as I saw it, for exclusion. Accepting that the constant state of clarity was not available to me, just didn't sit well. And it's only become through the examination, through trying to quantify, trying to count the degrees that I was experiencing of residing in clarity. I was looking at the process. What has made this so elusive? Why does it come in such brief periods of experience? After all, equanimity came and sat with me and stayed with me. Of course, there was a few bumps in the road, but equanimity became a constant. And my question was, why can't clarity also be a constant? And as I mentioned before, and I'll mention again, my own personal experience is not intended to reflect the experience of anyone else. Just as equanimity has come and stayed, I'm sure that others out there enjoy the constant state of clarity. But as I see clarity, I see that there's a vigil, a dedication to maintaining this state of clarity. You have to be on high alert and gentleness and being on high alert are mutually exclusive. High alert implies way too much energy to maintain a current state. Now, bliss and clarity are states of mind that come to me in moments, come to me briefly. And it's interesting when I look at bliss is too much energy for my meager little body to handle for extended periods of time. Bliss, just the energy, the light is just pouring into me, and I can't reflect it back as quickly as it's coming in. So it's like, almost like putting your finger in the electric socket, licking it, putting it in the, like a child would do out of curiosity. Yeah. Whereas clarity is opposite for me. Clarity means that I have to be on a vigil, I have to be on an alert, I have to be consciously aware of protecting this state of mind. And neither the idea of too much energy to handle or too much energy to maintain the status quo. Here in Taiwan, we love the status quo, don't we? Let's keep things as they are. Let's keep ourselves in a state of clarity. Well, the effort involved in the status quo, keeping things the same, is huge because the one constant in the physical universe is change. So all the elements of change are in play, and the efforts it takes to keep the status quo are tremendous, and at best temporary. As I've plainly seen in the last couple of days, I've really been in the throes of my journey these days and sharing with you these days that they're passing. Sharing with you that the tremendous period of change that I've been involved in, embraced most times. And it's come to looking. It's come through quantifying attempts to express the state of clarity. It's really interesting to me that the effort that I'm putting towards understanding clarity is the impetus. It is the be-all and end-all for the rapid change that I've been experiencing these last few days, weeks, and even months. The impetus, the speed has been increasing without betraying the caveat of gentleness. These changes have not been abrupt. They've been smooth. They haven't been disruptive. In fact, they've been healing, which is another result of gentleness, embracing, becoming. Gentleness is healing. Peace is your reward. Feeling good about change, embracing it, enveloping it in gentleness. So this drive that I've lived with for 30, 40, 50 years to be 100% constantly in a state of clarity has departed for parts unknown. As I balance the costs, the vigilance, the effort that it takes for me personally to maintain a state of clarity, is not worth it, is the first thing I think. And my understanding of clarity containing the seed of doubt. And the doubt for me is that maintaining a constant state of clarity is not worth the effort. Even if I could corral the physical, mental, emotional fuel necessary for sustaining this state, I'm better served, as I'm coming to understand, by bits and pieces of clarity. When you consider, my family name is Hayes, Hayes, and it suits me well because it's pronounced just like haze, Hace. When it's hazy out, when it's cloudy and foggy, ambiguity instead of clarity. My friend described me once as when I had gone within, when I had retired into privacy It's a process for me that represented renewal. It gave me strength to come out again and participate in the world. I needed periods of separation, periods of silence, so that I could evaluate, I could add to the accumulated experiences in a constructive manner. He called these periods of times a haze out. And I couldn't have said it better myself. Wasn't always super aware that I had retreated, that I had backed off from the world. I just was caught up in the process, was just involved in what this downtime, what this private time truly meant to me. I cannot be on all the time. I was short out. And coming from this kind of background, it's really not hard to understand why the maintenance of a state of clarity just might be overwhelming to me. And having come to this conclusion does not preclude the possibility that I will learn to generate the energy necessary to sustain a state of clarity so that I could dwell in a constant state of clarity. I always leave the possibility, just as it may be possible for me to be in a constant state of bliss and remain in this human vehicle. Although my experience to date with bliss is that the energy that bliss brings, the light, the unity, is overwhelming. What to do with this energy? It seems that my abilities to cope with this tremendous input of energy is overwhelming. And that's the experience that's the feeling that I have during bliss. I'm grateful, but it's extremely overwhelming. And the idea of maintaining a constant state of clarity is the opposite. It's underwhelming. I'm not very enthusiastic about being able to generate the energy through my efforts to maintain a state of clarity. So there's my conundrum, folks. Too much energy from bliss, too much energy directed to clarity. And where I remain open, where gentleness will guide and lead me, is to the possibility that I can dwell in a constant state of bliss, that my body won't explode, and I can abide in a constant state of clarity, and my body will not implode. We must entertain the possibilities while letting gentleness relax us into the joys of what currently is ours. Peace, love, light, gifts of the universe are ours in a constant state of abundance to enjoy. Let it envelop us, become them. And time will tell, as I still am measuring the state, quantifying clarity. Will there become a time when this quantification won't occur, when it'll just be acceptance? Time will tell, as it always does.